we would, if we had lots of money, we would set up an observation system, a data acquisition system that would, in 10 years, maybe begin to tell you what you need. And I prudently shut my mouth and waited until they were through. And then I said, the FAO has, since 1950, collected millions of catch records, catch data, which can be seen as a giant sampling program. At that time, the paper on fishing dam and food web was just in press. I knew what I was talking about. This is at that time. The paper was published in '98, but I know what it was. And so these 5 gentlemen were told to leave, and I was told to stay. And within a year, we had a proposal that I sent to Pew that was rejected by all reviewers because you can't do it, this cannot be done, and especially the most galling one was, we can do it, but not Pauly. Anyway, Pew decided, somebody called Josh Whiteley decided to put his head on the block and decided to give us lots of money, $1.2 million a year for the first 2 years. And we did the North Atlantic, and we covered the North Atlantic, and we did all these things. We analyzed the FAO catch, we spatialized it, we reviewed the access agreement, we assessed how the North Atlantic was doing, we quantified subsidies, we invented various indicators, we run a symposium in Dakar, and a book was written that described the Atlantic Ocean, that graded how its various elements are doing, with maybe the pass a C plus or something. And we also wrote the famous paper about China overestimating its catch, and a review on the sustainability of bird fishing in science, in nature, sorry, in Bible. This got a lot of positive reviews, and Willie at the time, Willie Christensen, was part of the team, as was Rashid and later William. Willie wrote a paper showing that the biomass of fish had really massively declined in North Atlantic with a series of connected ecopath models. And that clinched the deal that we were going to continue to work. So in this first phase, we, as I mentioned, we mapped the catches, and we produced these products. That the first global estimate of small-scale fisheries catches, reconstruction of various catch, but we didn't do the reconstruction that we're doing now. We mapped the global consumption of fuel for the first time, and this was published in Ambio. It was a hugely successful paper that was featured in a Tuesday science column of the New York Times. We covered seamounts and other areas. So then is now, we have more stuff. So we did this ecopath model for the North Atlantic, South Atlantic, Southeast Asia, West Africa. And we published the first ecopath database that was called ecopath.org. Then came the Global Excessive Price Database, which we linked with that. These are the two biomass data that really wrote. And essentially, when we could show that the high density of fish at the beginning of the 90s, in the 1990s, in the 1900s, and this stuff was in 2000, late 90s, that defined ecosystem health. In other words, you don't need to define what health is when you have 1/10 of the biomass on shelves. Right there. Then we created also the first online database of marine reserves. Then we have phase 2 and then the grant was reevaluated, and then is going to tell us about
Then Padamadas, for those who don't know me yet, I joined the Sea Rounders in 2001. Originally, as a member of the Fish-Based Consortium, the Sea Rounders was supposed to hire a fish-based person. And that was me. Yeah. So I sort of like assured the link between biodiversity and fisheries within the Sea Rounders. So I'm going to talk to you about this phase, 2005 to 2009. But Daniel failed to mention was that in around 2004, 2003, 2004, he started having a big group of people working with the Sea Rounders, mostly students. And that was at a time when he had something like 15 to 20 students per year.
No, it was 12.
12 students per year. So with that was a lot of people working with Sea Rounders at that time. And that continued on towards the second phase, 2005 to 2009. But the difference between the first phase is that here we are able now to say, to give a better structure of how to present what we are really doing in the Sea Rounders. So it was the Global Ocean as a Layered Challenge. And these are the 6 layers that actually respond to the first 6 questions of John Reichert when the Sea Rounders was started in Reichert. I cannot say that name. So it's, that was in 1999, so responding to the first 6 questions by the Pew Charitable Trust. So each layer represents a data type used to contribute to, and which, when jointly analyzed, represent the entire range of ocean issues, starting with the physical and jurisdictional boundaries layer, which is the most important layer actually, that gave us a way of presenting the data by cell, by active cells. Great. That's my next slide. So each of these layers answered the 6 questions that was originally asked to see around us, but with the final objective of managing the exploitation of exploited marine resources. So this is the first layer, and basically all the representation starting in this period was structured around various ocean space, right? The various cuttings of ocean space, and grouped by half-degree cells. And the physical layers, here we say physical and jurisdictional boundaries layer. The physical layers involved bathymetry, including topography, that would include information on continental shelf and slope, estuaries and seamounts. And there was a huge database of seamounts that was developed by one of Daniel's students, Telmo Morato, which is now also being used as an underlying layer in the Sea Rounders database. Depth is probably the most important feature of the sea, as we all know, and it is the main driver of differences in productivity between highly productive shallow and inshore waters. And that is why we have, well, the EZ as your jurisdictional boundary, mostly represented inshore shallow areas. And also the large marine ecosystems are actually also covering most of the productive inshore areas of the seas. And the EEZs came about as a collaboration between the Flanders Institute, Marine Institute in Oostende in Belgium, and LMEs were originally from the NOAA database. Both databases, both the EZs as well as the LMEs, were updated later on, so that they were slightly modified, considering ecological boundaries. Okay. There were 66 LMEs and I don't know, 200 something, 70 EZs that came about from this work. Right. Then, so we have the primary production layer and the plankton layer. This layer was done to re-express basically the primary production as a footprint of fisheries, which is the proportion of the primary production required by fishery. And the work started in, I forget now, 2006, with the collaboration with CWIFs at the EU Joint Research Center. And this led to working with the National Geographic, with, what was his name? Enric Sala, and who we are still working with at present. So that was that. And in 2005, the Sea Around Us decided that I go and build Sea Life Base. And I built Sea Life Base, which is a database of all other marine organisms other than fish, that would then assure the biodiversity layer for fish and invertebrate species, including mammals and seabirds and all the other marine vertebrates. And working with students again of Daniel, we created a marine mammal database with 150 species. This was Richard Kleischner, which then went on to work on distribution of marine animals, especially for marine mammals, and she developed the model that is now being used, or partly being used, by Aquamaps in Fisheries. That collaboration with Sea Life Base also developed seabirds with Daniel's student again, Vasiliki Kaputsi, who made a database of 351 species of seabirds, which are now all in Sea Life Base. Both marine mammals and seabird information are all now Sea Life Base. And with this work, we added the biodiversity layer for 700 fish and 300 invertebrate species, which now grew to something, 1,500 species now in the database, in the Sea Around Us database. That's the marine biodiversity layer.
And all of these things are connected to papers, right?
Yes. Yeah, of course. All of these things are connected to papers. Then, this is out of my league now. That's the fisheries economics layer. Notes. The fisheries economics layer involves the subsidies database, and the ex-vessel price database, thanks to Travis and Rashid and Tim, who updated all of this work. And I forget, it's the base, when they did this, the base year was 2005. I forget. So the base year was 2005, but now I think the base year is 2010?
2009.
2009, yeah. So that was again added, that was the economics layer that was added to the database. Then we have the catch and fishing effort layer. This is where you get all of the reconstructions for, I think, and
that she will speak about.
yes, yeah. So I'm not doing that. Yeah. So fishing effort layer, which is being upgraded by Krista, not you. All right. Krista and the effort team, and we should be available to the database next year. Synthesis and policy and outreach. Daniel had this nice student, her name is Jacqueline Jacqueline. And with her help, the outreach, the Sea Around Us outreach, then flourished during this period because Jennifer, sorry, not Jacqueline. No, Jacqueline Alder is the other one. So, yes. And well, with Jennifer actually pushed all of the work on the impact of fishing on not only human use, but also on their conservation. So this was Jennifer. Because of the LME work, one of the main outputs was an ecopathoid ecosystem model of all 66 LMEs, and that was done by Billy. He pushed that forward, which then gave us the estimated 2 billion tons. And that, the global fish biomass is about 2 billion tons, and it contributes to 110 million tons of calcium carbonate in the carbon cycle. So that was the main, the biggest sort of product of that phase.
At the time, it was still in the Sea Around Us.
Okay, so starting 2010, the Sea Around Us starts focusing on reconstructing the catches, the fisheries catches. By reconstruction of the fisheries catches, we simply mean, and probably most of you have heard of this several times in this institute, but we mean by this trying to re-estimate have more realistic estimates of what has been caught or withdrawn from the sea in terms of fish, but also it aims to improve the taxonomic disaggregation of the catch that is already available, either on a national level or through the INCO fisheries catch data. And this work has been done for the time period, was done for the time period 1950 to 2010. Currently it's being updated to 2015. And it's being done for every coastal country around the world, every EEZ. So some countries might have more than one EEZ. Catches are usually assigned to either landed or discarded, reported or unreported, foreign or domestic, and also they're assigned to 4 main fishing sectors, which usually are subsistence, recreational, usually almost never reported by any countries, with some exceptions, and then industrial, large scale, and finally artisanal, small scale. So just for you to know, this work is usually using the FAO data, which is available for all countries around the world since the 1950s. So the FAO collects catch data from every country around the world, and just makes it available for everyone to access it. However, this catch data usually only involves landings and only very well monitored reported landings. So anything as discards or subsistence or recreational or activities that are being done in more rural areas usually are completely not looked at. Around 400 scientists, some of which have been part and were part of the Sea Around Us, but most of which were around the world, we call them local collaborators. I was one of them in North Africa, and I just came here. And so these scientists completed around 200 reconstructions. Many of these reconstructions made it to peer-reviewed journals, around 187, but all the results of the catch reconstructions, so the results of all the work that has been done for the 2010-2017 time period is available through the Sea Around Us website, which I believe is popular with around 200,000 visits per year. But the main outcome actually is the Global Atlas of Marine Fisheries that was released in 2016, and that groups all catch reconstructions of 273 EEZs, I think. So each page represents the reconstruction. It has, so if the reconstruction is published, you can access the actual publication in the journal, but in any case, all of it is accessible through the website of the Sea Around Us. And so the major findings of the 2010-2017 time period is that 30% of total world fisheries are unreported. This, of course, using...
50%, sorry.
Sorry?
Hmm?
Well, that's what was reported in the communication, intercommunication paper, right?
But
About 50 more? So around 50% is unreported. This, of course, using the FAO data as the baseline. So in other words, the FAO catch data is found to be pretty biased. Some of the other major findings is that global catching have been declining by around 1.2 million tons per year since the mid-90s. There is also another component, which is the fisheries economic one, that has been taken care of during this period, but thanks to Professor Somaila, who performed one of the first studies of the global economic contribution of fisheries. And some of the main findings is that 7 to 36% of the total annual landings are lost due to overfishing. Also, wild fisheries generate way more outcome than thought. So annual household income of around 63 billion, so worldwide. And recreational fisheries are not as small as we think. They contribute with an annual 47 billion, well, we forgot to word here, income, I think, and then 1.1 million jobs worldwide. And the main conclusion of the economic fisheries, I would say, component in the Sierra's work in this period is that, of course, with better management, we can feed an additional number of 20 million people. And so there was a lot of key papers and works that were released and completed by different Sierra's members. Some of them were mentioned, so the work already started before 2010 and were mentioned, so the spatial expansion ecological footprint of fisheries. We have also, for example, Lucas, we call him the jellyfish expert, and he got a prize for that. Dadail also had some very impactful work in the Persian Gulf, and a lot. When things happen.
Hi, I'm Madeline. I'm a master's student with Sierra's. And basically what we wanted to say here is that there have just been a ton of students that have been working on this project over these couple decades. And these are some of them, just picked because I think you have photos of them, right? So there have been 26 MSc students that have been involved in the Sierra's, and about 17 PhD students and 13 postdocs. And what Daniel published last year in a kind of autobiographical paper was this figure here showing a pyramid versus a tower, different styles of work. And we see the Sierra's as a pyramid because it's been contributed to from all these students and different people working on it. And they're large, complex structures. They take a long time to build and a lot of hard work, but they are stable and they're long-lasting. And especially ours has been publicly available, so that's a big part of it as well. And that's compared to a tower, but also there are many different blocks that can be used in a lot of different ways. And so this was also shown in that figure of all the layers that are involved in the Sierra's, and we see that also as a pyramid. So for my work, I'm using the gear data, the stock status data, and the taxonomic distribution data to improve the taxonomic resolution of Mediterranean and Black Seas shark and ray catches. And this method that I've developed will also then feed back into the sea around us to taxonomically disaggregate for all fishes in the database. And this kind of iterative process has been done by a ton of different people, a lot of students, so that the projects are in isolation just important generally. So sharks and rays are doing really terribly in the Mediterranean, which is why I chose to study them. But also it feeds back into the sea around us, so we're always improving the data that we have.
Recently, one of these autobiographical pieces in the journal, in the ICIT journal, and she said, I'm no pharaoh, and I just did one stone that I pushed. like I was clinging to the pharaoh. But rather when I speak of army, I mention that I'm very obtuse, flat penguin. So I can't get very high, but the stuff that I do, like Fisheries, stays. Some people are very acute, very smart. The analogy is there. They can build really, really high things, but these things fall easily. So they're still overworking. So, media attention.
The Serranos, one of the things that we really believe in is in doing media outreach not for the sake of being famous, just for the fact that otherwise our research stays in academia and the public and the communities don't benefit from it. So if we spread the word, then policies can be developed and people can be aware of what we are doing and why it is important and how they can put that information into practice. So besides doing public talks and presentations, many of them by our core, let's say, executive team and also students, we had the opportunity of being part or showcase a documentary which has earned a few awards this year, and we had a screening here at the IOF, and we actually also try to be in touch with national and international media and local media as well through a two-way relationship. Outbound is when we have a research, we reach out to them and tell them, hey, this is what we have. But also when they need someone to comment on anything that's happening, a new MBA or any kind of news stories, then we also, So, and we do that also through a relationship with Catherine and the IOF communications team and UBC communications team. This work gave us, at least this year, at least 60 newspaper stories, 20 magazine features, plus 30 TV and radio interviews, and 180 online news stories. Not only for Daniel, for team, for them, for all of our researchers, or many of our researchers. Our numbers keep growing in terms of page views for the website and also social media. It's a bit slower, but we do have an engaged community. People ask questions, people comment on the things that we post, and this year Pauly was supposed to be here, but we had a lot of views for that live video on Facebook. And it's a matter of, like I say, listen to our followers, discussions, what are people talking about in this field, and engage with them because, they are interested, and many of them belong to NGOs that work in this area or other government organizations, and it's important to be in touch.
I should add that Valentina has added this dimension of the Serranos that we should have had much earlier, and a dedicated person, a professional. She's a graduate from the German School of here at UBC, and she had added this professionalism to a job that was done with the left hand before, and I can only recommend this. The Serranos is much smaller than when we were under the warm reign of Pew's largesse. We had a budget of $1 million to 1.2 million US dollar per year, and then we had almost the same in the next 3 years after 15 years of funding from Pew. But by the way, they did not throw us out. It was me who thought this was enough. Because I like to be dumped, so I've always dumped before. So we had 3 years of funding from the Paul G. Allen Family Foundation, and this whole thing about dumping was completely hubris on my part, because I thought we were so good that we should find a similar funding sources elsewhere. And I was dead wrong, and therefore the project is shrunk. And now it's composed of funding from a number of funders, 6 or 7 smaller grants as opposed to one big grant. So we have a budget of about $400,000 to $500,000 per year. Greg is the manager, following Dirk, who was a long-time manager here, but who has gotten a professorship at the University of Western Australia, where he will run the branch of the sea rounders that is going to be Indian Ocean. That was made possible by a colleague, a friend of ours, Jessica Merwick, who created this position in a new university which had just gotten rid of 100 professorships. So this is amazing, and maybe this is a statement about the sea rounders and what we hope University of Western Australia wanted to, what you would call redorer le blason. They improved their visibility, and they hired Dirk because he published a lot. So there's a lesson there. We publish a lot at the sea rounders, and Dirk had a very high age and very many publications, and that was the key factor for him to be hired by this university, which will, through him, improve his ranking. Next, I think we're almost done. And so, in the future, what we're going to do? We're going to do expanding far more dimension of catch by gear, by end use, by freshwater fisheries catches, with major paper documenting this addition. I would like to mention Tim Cushion in this context, who has done extraordinary work on the catch by gear and the catch by end use. And the freshwater fisheries catches was inspired by a visitor that we have who is not and we will, in the next 6 months, apply the CMSY method of Martel and Froese to all stocks of the world. Basically, we will then compare this stock assessment with the famous stock assessment, the famous RUM database in the second year, and we hope that it will become a site where people talk about stock assessment. But it's not going to be a site for initiates. The RUM Maya databases is for initiates. You have to know lots about stock assessment to interpret what is in there. We will try to make it accessible. And we will increase the collaboration with Fish and Syllabase and with other databases. Global Fishing Watch, that's from satellite, and the MPA Atlas of the world. And we will continue to cooperate with William Chance Koru and Rashid Sferro, which we, if I may remind you of it, was were 100% owned branches of the sea rounders before they were established. And we will strive to establish the sea rounders website as a resource, especially for civil society and developing countries. This has been our focus all the time, because rich countries such as Canada or the US, they have stuff, but lots of other countries don't. And this is our main audience. If an issue cannot be done globally, then it is not picked up. Because if we follow the work that is done in advanced countries, we would have depth in Europe, in America, and the rest of the world, we can forget it. So the principle is something that is done by the sea rounders is done globally or not. So that's it, and thank you very much. I think this is the acknowledgement that we present. Usually we present a whole battery of people, and over the years these people change, and this is the current.
No, it's not.
Anyway, we'll run out of pictures. So that's about it, and the rest can be questioned and answered there too. Thank you very much.